the first layer of neurolinguistic programming is understanding how a person learns. And when we talk about learning, it's not just about um, school learning, but how they learn everything, right? How they make any kind of changes at work, in life. And so there's these three main modalities of learning. There's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Um, Visual meaning that you are among the 60% of the human population that learns through seeing, mostly through visuals, pictures. Um, Auditory makes up about 25% of folks that learn mostly through listening, through lectures, um, and kinesthetic, that's about 15% of the human population that learns mostly through doing and tactile. And so I have a personal theory that those of us that are highly evolved, like us in this class, we have a combination. Most of us have a combination of all of these, and so in teaching and in engaging with others, right, it's important to engage all three: visually, auditory, and then kinesthetic, like through experience, through doing things. Why is this important? Because when you are speaking with your client or speaking with a person, you want to do your best to try to um, identify what is this person's primary learning modality, right? And so we do that for the purposes of making sure that what we are presenting to them, how we're speaking to them, is in line with their primary learning modality. And again, most of us are, like a mix of these, but based on there's different things that give it away. So one of them is the words that a person uses. So for example, the following is like there are a bunch of verbs and predicates that people use and adjectives that represent the way that that person thinks. So, for example, if you have a person who uses a lot of, yeah, do you see what I mean? You see what I mean? Or uses the word sees, observe. Oh, I can totally see that in the mind's eye. That person is primarily a visual learner, right? And they give it away. Like people give away who they truly are in their language. So people use the words like imagine or oh my god, I can, when I look at that, this is what I see. And then those who are primarily auditory learners use words that are linked to the auditory, like I love the sound of that. That totally rings a bell. I instead of saying, "Oh, I see you," they say, "Oh, I hear you. I hear you." Um, they use the words listen. Articulating that, discussing that. I hear you loud and clear. So these are just a few different words to for you to consider and and listen for as you're engaging with someone. And then there's the kinesthetic, right? Just like the other ones, it gives it away. Kinesthetics are all about feeling and touching and experiencing things as they take information in, right? And so they use the same words to describe their experience. Like I feel you. Instead of saying I see you or I hear you, you can hear a person who's primarily kinesthetic, a kinesthetic learner, say I feel you. I get a grip on that. Let me get a grip on that. Oh, I can handle that, no problem. Oh, I can touch it. Like in expressing these feelings of how they feel, calm, stress, and this last one, hang in there. So this is just one layer, right, of understanding this neurolinguistic piece. Right, first it's like seeing what is this person's primary learning modality, and one of the ways is by uh, acknowledging, making making close attention, putting close attention to the kind of words that the person uses to describe things. The next one is you can actually see what is the person's primary learning modality by their eyes and their gestures. So, for example, a person who's a visual learner looks up to the right or the left, looks up to their left or right a lot. It may appear on focus. I'm primarily a visual learner, so sometimes when I'm talking to people, I'm like, like it's like I'm almost going into my mind to find the visual of what I'm going to say. And you see the gestures, quick, angular, and include pointing. You have all seen me do that through this presentation. Auditory learners, you can see that sometimes they look down a little bit more. They level left and right and appear a little bit shifty. So you know when you see people like doing this, pacing back and forth, those are usually your auditory learners, or they're like putting the ear towards you as they're speaking. Um, that's a giveaway. And in the gestures, you see rhythmic and touching one's face, rubbing the chin. I have a friend that rubs her eyebrows a lot, like the corner of her eyebrows. She's trying to like listen and focus to what you're saying. And then kinesthetic learners, as you can see, down and to the right, they look down a lot, right? It's like they're almost like wanting to reference their bodies and the way they feel as they're engaging with you. Or you see a lot of people that touch their chest a lot as they're speaking, right? That's one of the indicators that the person may be a primarily kinesthetic learner. So I want you to kind of, as you listen to this, try to identify where you feel you fall under based on these descriptions. Other things that kind of give away the person's learning modality is also their breathing and their speech. And we went through the words, but then this last piece here is really important, because once you've identified which one is the person's primary learning modality, then you want to adjust your presentation style to their primary learning modality. Right? So if you see the person, if you get, oh my God, this person is mostly a visual learner, then I'm going to do pictures and diagrams, movies, just like provide them with eye candy. And if they're auditory learners, right, it's like creating lists, summaries, short quotes, give them things to read. And then if they're kinesthetic, you want to have games and be able to do things to have them move around. And like some of the best professors and the best teachers and the best presenters do all three to engage all types of learners. Another thing that you can observe in someone is their eyes. So their eyes, again, the eyes, the gestures, and the words that they use to give it away. So who here believes themselves to be a visual learner? You can just put it on the chat. Jocelyn, you're visual. Magalis, think you're a visual learner. How about Lisa? Which one do you think you are?
I'm in between. I'm kind of two, visual and kinesthetic.
Yeah, that's me too. How about you, Natasha?
I'm between two as well, but I'm more auditory, and I have like kinesthetic tendencies, but I'm majority auditory.
Oh, okay. Later we're going to do an exercise to try to identify it in each other. So next we're going to get into the third layer. So now it's like once you can learn to identify based on the person's language, their breathing and speech, and their eyes and their gestures, and adapt your presentation style to that person based on what you're observing. Then we can do something called mirror and matching. And so mirror and matching is really a way to build rapport with clients. What this does, right, when you mirror and match a person's gestures, their words, their speech, such as like their speed, the tone, the rhythm, and even the breathing of that person, it makes the person feel comfortable with you. And so you want to do this, in a genuine, authentic way, right? And so the way we do this in a genuine and authentic way is because we have the intention of being respectful and helping, right? And influencing in a positive way. But this is really powerful when you start to identify in a person, and sometimes we even do this naturally. Like if a person is speaking very fast, we start to speak very fast. If the person, when it's hard, sometimes is if the person is speaking very slowly, for us to slow down. But it's very, very powerful. Um, and so, for example, if you're noticing that a person is an auditory learner and you're here, and you're not speaking their language, it's going to drive them kind of crazy. They're going to feel like you don't get them, you don't understand them. And so it's really, one is to be able to observe and then to match, right? Mirror and match, exactly what it sounds. Um, the person's way of communicating and taking in information so that they can feel heard, and they can you can develop a level of rapport with them. And it's really one of the keys to really helping your clients feel comfortable with you. Most people are not aware, to one, to like really look for these things in someone, to look, for, what is the person's learning modality, or to adjust their communication with the other person. And it's sometimes the other way around, where they're looking for the other person to connect with theirs. So this is really key. Before I go into personal pros, any questions about mirror and matching or the learning modalities? No? Magalis. Do you have any questions about?
No,
No,
I'm fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? No, we're good to go? Okay, let's continue.